Class of 2024, guests and colleagues, my name is Edward Joyner, and on behalf of the University of York and the alumni community, I am delighted to welcome you to your conferment and celebration ceremony. I have a few announcements to make before we begin so that you can relax and enjoy the ceremony. Class of 2024, an easy job to start with. Please check that your ticket number matches the number on your seat, because you'll be called to the stage in order. If you discover that these do not match, our team of stewards can help you locate the correct seat. At the appropriate time, you will be invited by the stewards to stand and to make your way to the foot of the stairs, ready to head up the stairs and across the stage, all very straightforward. There are, however, two key things which make for a seamless ceremony. First, as soon as the person ahead of you begins to cross the stage, please make sure you make your way up the stairs. Please don't wait until they've crossed the stage before you reach the top of the stairs. Second, don't let the excitement and pride overwhelm you so much that you forget to pick up your degree parchment after you've crossed the stage. If you do, don't worry, you will have still graduated. But don't try to go back because you will collide with someone coming the other way. Instead, please visit the graduation information desk in the Spring Lane building 30 minutes after the ceremony to collect your parchment. Graduands, you are asked to raise or doff your cap rather than shake hands with the Deputy Vice-Chancellor when you are called on stage. And please do feel free to pause for a moment at the spot marked X in the centre of the stage for that all-important photo opportunity. At the end of the ceremony, graduates are asked to process out of the hall directed by the stewards. Family and friends, the stewards will show you the exits once the graduates have left the hall. If the fire alarm should sound at any point, please remain in your seats. Instructions will be given and we will escort you to the nearest exit. When students graduate, they become alumni of the University of York. As an alumnus, you will join an international community of over 165,000 alumni in 188 countries. The university's Alumni Association is a vibrant and active global network which offers services and opportunities that are designed to help graduates make connections with other alumni across the world to support their career development and to provide lifelong learning. York is for life, and we'll be there for you every step of the way, particularly as you embark on this important next chapter. Soon you'll receive an email giving further details of the ways in which you can remain supported, connected and active in this community of one of the world's great universities. You can follow our alumni social media channels on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, X, and check out the alumni pages on the university website to keep in touch and to learn more about life when you become a York graduate. As you get your first job or take up further study or training, please remember to keep in touch and let us know what you're doing. Understanding the career paths that you take will help us provide the right support for current students and make sure we continue to offer you relevant information and opportunities. Please remember to join us for your celebratory reception following the ceremony in the Exhibition Centre, where you will be able to celebrate your achievement with a complimentary glass of fizz or a selection of other refreshments. Finally, can I ask you to please mute your mobile telephones, and if you are comfortably able, please stand.
I declare open this congregation for the conferment and celebration of awards. Please take your seats. Well, a very good afternoon. To those graduating, to our honorary graduates, to family and friends, and to colleagues, it's my great privilege to welcome you all to our ceremony here today. Today marks a significant landmark, whether you are receiving an award or sharing in the celebration. Last year, we celebrated the 60th anniversary of the foundation of the University of York. It was a year for us to reflect on the success that the university has become, on our worldwide reputation for discovery and education. We mark today the achievements of the latest class of graduates as they join the distinguished company of our alumni from those 60 years, people who have made a difference in the world, justifying the vision of our founders on the role for public good that a university in York could play. In any one of those 60 years, it was a major achievement to obtain a York degree. In this year, we particularly celebrate your achievement for the resilience you showed as you advanced through the stages of your education, through times of regrettably industrial action, and the uncertain, disrupted and distressing times of the pandemic. The response to COVID was throughout based on ambiguous and contested information and vigorous debate. Policy was based on difficult choices about restricting human interaction to reduce the spread of the virus in uncertain ways. An action itself with consequences for livelihoods and the well-being of families and friends. The assessment of these choices and their implications was based on value judgments based in the considerations of the humanities, as well as epidemiology based on statistics. This ceremony is also a tremendously proud moment for the staff who supported the graduates through their studies. Some join us here today, and your professionalism and dedication has supported the students to reach their achievements that we celebrate today. Staff commented on how the English graduates here today have shown extraordinary resilience, an inspiring passion for their subject, a burning sense of fairness and justice, and remarkable grace and understanding. The graduating students have forged enduring connections here at York and were a delight to work with, intellectually adventurous, wide-ranging in their interests, and inspiring in the range and ambition of their extracurricular work. Staff in Archaeology commented on their pride in how students have put a huge amount of work into their research projects that sometimes then go on to be published or make other impacts. One of our digital archaeology students created a 3D model of Barnsholme Castle for the Environment Agency. An MA student working in a research team has published a piece of work which used biomolecular techniques to analyze a rare Viking comb, finding that it was made of reindeer antler. And a former student has written a book on the Isle of Axholme. To all our graduates, having successfully navigated all the challenges in front of you, today you join an alumni community of 166,000 in more than 150 countries. The skills and aptitudes that the degree certifies set you up for future careers, whatever you choose to do. Education at York is embedded in an environment that advances knowledge through our research, and we are incredibly proud of our achievements. The PhDs we are awarding today in English on the Holy Land in 15th century literature, the contemporary vogue for serialization, and on writing the South Asian Muslim terrorist, are a fantastic demonstration of the range and scope of research in the Department of English and Related Literature, which is global in its ambitions and stretches from ancient times to the present day. There have been some gratifying recent research successes. The Street Life project put staff and students from the department at the heart of the City of York, and our recent grant successes include prestigious grants for projects on print and materiality, on scientific poetry and poetics in Britain and Germany, from the Renaissance to the Enlightenment, on the metis of global indigenous people, as a global indigenous people, and on how literature gave rise to crucial legal and cultural conceptions of coercive control and domestic violence. A research highlight in the Archaeology department is the project on the forgotten children of the past, putting a spotlight onto the lives of early 19th century pauper apprentices from the village of Fewston in North Yorkshire. The analysis of 150 individuals showed the children had malnutrition and evidence of disease associated with hard labour. The team, composed of local historians and archaeological scientists, showed how children were transported to the north from workhouses in London. The work is allowing us to tell their stories and is creating a lasting commemoration. A permanent artwork is on display, and the project has been nominated for the current Archaeological Research Project of the Year. These examples illustrate several of the many ways in which the University of York's highly esteemed research makes tangible differences to the world. This world can seem an unsettling place for more reasons than just global pandemics. Disruption from technology is causing the future of work itself to be questioned. The York economics graduate and MIT professor Darren Acemoglu wrote in his recent book about how the Industrial Revolution of the 19th century led to changes in work that ultimately created many more fulfilling and rewarding jobs than were lost through the application of automation and machines in ways that were not obvious beforehand. It seems to me that a sense of optimism for the future has a key precondition which we are seeing met in front of us today. It requires people with a sense of agency and purpose and the skills and opportunity to act on these. Acemoglu in his book makes the point that the impact of technological changes and how the benefits are shared have been and will be in the future both positive and negative. What actually happens arises from human choices as much as the capability of the technology. We look to the students graduating this week to shape these outcomes for the public good through your choices and actions, whether big or small. Our futures will be shaped as much by the values and ethics that you display as breakthroughs in technology. Over the 60 years since foundation, the University of York has been shaping the future through its impact in the city, its discoveries, and through our graduates and their influence in the world. To those graduating today, we are very proud of what you have achieved to date and anticipate what you will do in the future. When I see you here today, my sense of optimism for the future is reinforced. So enjoy your day, congratulations, and the best of luck for your future. Thank you.
Professor Nikki Milner will present the class of 2024 on behalf of the Department of Archaeology.
Deputy Vice-Chancellor and Provost, I have the honour to present the following candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Archaeology. For research in obsidian in prehistoric Yemen and Ethiopia, Richard Lee. For the degree of Master of Arts in Conservation Studies, Victoria Helliwell. Lucy Howson. For the degree of Master of Arts in Conservation of Historic Buildings, Rebecca Bowen. Georgina Davidson. Boyana Elks. Claire Hatton. Ian Jenkins. Robert Kennedy. Satcher Langdale Smith. Josephine Lewis. Holly Lusher Chamberlain. Barsha Moore. Ilma Nafis. Gati Shah. Ashika Vijayaka. Kai Walker Turner. For the degree of Master of Arts in Cultural Heritage Management, Samuel Atkinson. Elsa Bailey. Kat Barnes. Francesca Boschetti. Christopher Bray. Kelly Brewster Canisi. Felicity Head. Chloe Johnston. Moritz Kuliwine. Eloise Martin. Lucy McClay. Macy Palmer. Addison Race. Charlotte Root. Riley Schmidt. Jayanti Supercar. David Tanti. Joseph Thompson. Cara Trevor. Travis von der Berg. For the degree of Master of Arts in English Building History, Sophie Clark. Connell Corrigan. Jessica May Wheeler. For the degree of Master of Arts in Field Archaeology, James Dewhurst. Peter Lee. Suresh Kumar. For the degree of Master of Arts in Funerary Archaeology, Emily Kelso. Joshua Stead. Marcy Weeks. For the degree of Master of Arts in Historic Buildings, Nicole Griffith Barbieri. Michael Horner. Tristan Kennedy. William Plant. Genevieve Rainey. Duncan Watson. For the degree of Master of Arts in Historical Archaeology, Hannah Curtis. Tom Ellis Martin. Samuel Griffiths. Esther Jones. Catherine Montague Brochero. Elizabeth Rimington. For the degree of Master of Arts in Iron Age and Celtic Archaeology, Cerridwen Blakesley. Samuel Kavanagh. Catherine Murphy. Alex Pothecary. For the degree of Master of Arts in Medieval Archaeology, William Cullen. Caitlin Hendry. Maggie Hoffman. Eleanor Johnson.
The vocal ensemble Eonomy will perform Somewhere Over the Rainbow, arranged by Frankie Gorham.
For the degree of Master of Arts in Medieval Archaeology, Max Shanalski. Alice Taylor. For the degree of Master of Arts in Mesolithic Archaeology, Kate Bleckley. For the degree of Master of Arts in Prehistoric Landscape Archaeology, Michelle Abbey Hablé. For the degree of Master of Arts in Roman Archaeology, Elizabeth Kamsky. For the degree of Master of Arts in Sustainability Studies, Martha Roberts. Imogen Sinclair Jenkins. For the degree of Master of Science in Bioarchaeology, Chelsea Baker. Matthew Bean. Skye Ennis. Abigail Kennedy. For the degree of Master of Science in Digital Archaeology, Solange Bowling. Madeline Boone. McKenna Christine Crow. Benedict Dyson. Jack Markey. Dushanth Naresh. Oscar Osman. For the degree of Master of Science in Digital Heritage, Bethany Jones. Sierra Medellin. Amelia Sharples. Scott Foster. For the degree of Master of Science in Early Prehistory and Human Origins, Varsha Chatterjee. Erica Truman. Kelvin Dixon. For the degree of Master of Science in Funerary Archaeology, Isabel Knight. Lauren Oster. For the degree of Master of Science in Sustainability Science, Saoirse Barry. Charlie Cork. Eleanor Eden. Harriet Ferris. Francesca Lee. Alamil Valley Mohan Rangan. Christopher Scarr. For the degree of Master of Science in Zoo Archaeology, Yin Nam Lai. Rachel Reinhard. For the degree of Master of Arts in Material Culture and Experimental Archaeology, Jamie Elizabeth McNew. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Archaeology, Henry Dunn. Kieran Fowler Wright. Margot Lawtree. Alexander Moore. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Archaeology and Heritage, Ryan Al-Kiyumi. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Historical Archaeology, Ariane da Silva Palmas. Justine Ince. Connor Logan. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Archaeology, Samantha Key.
Professor Helen Smith will present the class of 2024 on behalf of the Department of English.
Deputy Vice-Chancellor and Provost, I have the honour to present the following candidates for the degree of Master of Philosophy in English. For research in Asian American literature, Yifeng Li. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in English. For research in serialisms in contemporary literature, Flora Sagers. For research in writing the South Asian Muslim terrorist, religion, politics and terror from a post-colonial lens, Zainab Sidat. For research in spatial imagination and the Holy Land in 15th century North Yorkshire, Robert Thornton's practice of reading devotional writings and romances, Yuki Sugiyama. For the degree of Master of Arts in Culture and Thought after 1945, Zara Aga. Emily Louise Smith. For the degree of Master of Arts in 18th Century Studies, Alexandra Hughes. Imogen Miller. Emma Richmond. Chloe Marie Sawbridge. Kate Stewart. Annabelle Willis. For the degree of Master of Arts in English Literary Studies, Isha Bara. Sarah Brett Smith. Amelia Chambers. Iona Dickinson. Eleanor Duncan. Elizabeth Haslam. Emma Heathcote. Lucas Leffley. Becky McCormick. Phoebe Needham Chandler. For the degree of Master of Arts in Film and Literature, Isabel Jones. Beth Roberts. Alexandra Thompson. Jamie Wilson-Law.
Professor Colleen Morgan from the Department of Archaeology will now present Sarah Wajid, our honorary graduand.
Deputy Vice-Chancellor and Provost, it is with great pleasure that I present Sarah Wajid as an honorary graduand. Sarah is a leader of genuine professional transformation of the arts sector and one of the most influential and inspiring women working in the heritage sector today. She has over 20 years of experience in the fields of museums and heritage, holding a series of important positions at major museums, and is currently the co-CEO of Birmingham Museums Trust. Over these years, she has worked tirelessly both within her roles and outside of her paid role to improve diversity in the arts in terms of workers and managers and of the audiences cultural heritage institutions engage with. I am personally inspired by her incredible commitment to intersectionality in the museum sector and her keen sense of collaboration, play, and creativity in her practice. When applying for CEO of Birmingham Museums Trust, she decided that doing it alone lacked joy. Instead, she invited another member of the global ethnic majority, Zach Mensah, to apply with her. They were successful, and as co-CEOs, their collaborative leadership has led the museums to become more useful to more people. Phenomenally active and responsive to their local communities, hosting critical conversations about decolonizing museums and vibrant multicultural events. Her ability to lift others as she is rising is also exemplified by her work as one of the founders and conveners of Museum Detox in 2014. Museum Detox is a network for people of color who work in museums, galleries, libraries, archives, and the heritage sector. The vision espoused by Museum Detox is to empower and support each other to heal, to be ourselves, and to reclaim our history. We collectively learn ways to practice self and community care, collective action, and solidarity. Through our self-actualization, we will inspire a more equitable museums and cultural heritage sector. This network has grown to over 600 members and is internationally recognized as a passionate, dedicated network of museum professionals who can collectively transform our understanding of our past, our communities, and ourselves. Sarah has strengthened the pipeline for members of the global majority who are minoritized within the UK context to progress towards leadership positions, working toward real progress in diversity, inclusion, and representation. In addition to Museum Detox, she also co-founded Space Invaders. It's an ambitious program for change aiming to help women into leadership positions, to bring workplace equality, and to ensure women's stories are heard in museums. Sarah has not always been in museums. She read Honours English at the University of Sussex and received an MA in Comparative Literature from the School of Oriental and African Studies. She was a freelance arts journalist and cultural commentator, writing for UK and international news sources. Her career in museums began around the time of the bicentenary of the abolition of the transatlantic slave trade, emerging as one of a new generation of museum practitioners experimenting with the representation of empire in British museums. She co-curated The Past Is Now, Birmingham and the British Empire, 2017 to 2018, an experiment in decolonizing museum curation that aimed to blend radical critique by seasoned cultural activists with democratic museum practice by experienced museum professionals in the Birmingham Museum. During the exhibition, a young black man holding a beautiful newborn baby was walking around the display. He came to the museum to show his son the exhibitions, how The Past Is Now made the museum relevant to him. He asked, "Why would I come if the stories weren't for me?" Sarah's co-curated intervention demonstrated how the museum is for everyone. This exhibition is now considered a keystone for all subsequent work in British museums to demonstrate good practice for building community ties. For this work, she has been awarded an MBE in 2019 for services to culture and diversity. The nomination of Sarah Wajid as an honorary graduate reflects York's position as an established global center of heritage learning and innovation, and our commitment to diversity and inclusion for the public good. Sarah came to speak in York in 2018 as part of the Department of Archaeology's Heritage Research Seminar Program. Her dialogue with Rayanne King, former CEO of York Museums Trust, explored their backgrounds, their work as change makers within museum detox, community engagement, intersectionality, class privilege, and anti-racism in heritage contexts. This conversation sparked intense interest from students who clamored to speak with Sarah, but I managed to corner her in the pub, where I found not just a fervent and excellent heritage practitioner, but a leader of great grace, wisdom, and humor. Deputy Vice Chancellor and Provost, for her incredible dedication to museums and heritage, culture and diversity in the United Kingdom, and her work in organizing and democratizing museums for all, I present Sarah Wajid for the degree of Doctor of the University, honoris causa.
By the power vested in me by the University of York, it's my pleasure to confer on you the degree of Doctor of the University honoris causa. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I don't think I was quite prepared for how moving the ceremony would be to watch all of you graduating and crossing this stage in this incredibly significant moment in your lives, and this expression of potent, shy pride on all of your faces for this incredible moment. It's quite something. The organ is also quite a big emotional kind of prod. I'm just reaching deep in this interesting sleeve, not for a magic trick, but for my notes here. So, first of all, thank you hugely to Colleen Morgan for nominating me. Colleen and I have met only once in person before today, and it's an extraordinary thing to put aside quite a lot of your time and your power and your resources to embrace and support and lift up another person for no good reason other than you want to publicly say, keep on trucking. And I just thank her hugely for that, and to the whole university. Also, I'd like to say thank you to Suzanne Thorne, who organised everything so beautifully and put up with endless inquiries from me. So, I don't have much time, I'll get to it. You've made brilliant choices in your subjects. Obviously, you know that because you have dedicated a huge amount of your lives and time and energy to it. I congratulate you all hugely. I'm an English literature graduate who is now a museum director, so I feel like I'm amongst my people. And listening to some of the subjects of your research and the focus was incredibly uplifting to hear the breadth and scope and depth of work, the imagination in this room, you know, the creativity, the research, the scholarship. It's vibrating in here with ideas and kind of capacity, which is it's really thrilling to be around. I spend most of my time around other middle-aged, administrators and bureaucrats like myself, a bit beleaguered after many years in the public sector. So this is a real shot in the arm just to be in your presence. And thank you very much to the babies who are here as well. I don't see enough babies in the world. This is great. So one of the things, your skills that you're developing, that you have developed, is as English literature students being attuned to subtext. Archaeology people are reading the world. You are reading and critically engaging and investigating. And most of all, you are storytellers. And that is an incredibly good skill to have. It's a skill that I use, probably the single most important skill in my job day to day. And the subjects that I read, the people that I read, the intellectual stimulation that I received at this time in my study, the equivalent time that you're going through now, was incredibly formative, very intellectually important for me. I might have emotionally developed a little bit since then, I hope. That was 25 years ago, but probably not intellectually very much. Virginia Woolf and Frantz Fanon were probably the two biggest thinkers that inform, and you can see a golden thread from them straight to my vision for Birmingham Museums Trust today. And I read them 25 years ago, and they absolutely shaped me. So, hugely important. Museums are 3D storytelling machines in which we use the past to imagine a better future. That's why I'm passionate about them. Let me tell you a little backstory about how what I want to share with you today, which is really about asking strangers for help, finding something that makes you feel brave enough to ask strangers for help. And for me, the museum was the place that sparked something different. I grew up in the 70s in a time when isms were very common. Sexism, racism, homophobia, all of those were just daily routine parts of our lives. And in the local park where I used to live, it wasn't particularly safe. I grew up not that far from where Stephen Lawrence was murdered. And when me and my brother would go to the park, it wasn't that comfortable. It wasn't as playful as it should be for children. But when we went to the museum, we went to the Natural History Museum, and my brother, who's a particularly bookish little boy then, would just play and come alive in the museum in an incredible way. We once met, those of you who are about my age might remember Johnny Morris. He was a legend. Think of, if you don't know him, think of David Attenborough, but who can also do funny voices and animal impressions. That was Johnny Morris. He was our absolute legend and hero, and we met him in the Natural History Museum. And we would run and play around and hide and seek. And my brother demonstrated kind of a curiosity about the world, a swagger and awe in those places, which I wouldn't see in the local park. And so that made me realize there was some great power here in the museum, this 3D storytelling machine. There was great joy. There was great capacity. There was something special going on in these environments that we thrived in and we loved. But there was also something pernicious and a bit odd, something that I later came to recognize and learnt to call ideological state apparatus. Something was not quite right. And when years later I got to the museum as a worker, I realized that creeping feeling was there again, the unsafe as I felt in the park. That bit of unsafety, but there weren't skinheads, there were snooty curators who might sort of poo-poo my ideas or wonder why I was moaning on about why there wasn't more about the opium wars in the galleries. And I thought, well, I need to feel safe, and I need to get help to feel safe. So how will I feel safer and swagger around like everybody else does? I will find my compatriots. So I asked for help from strangers. I put a call out to people of colour working in museums all over London. And I said, please meet me in the pub. I just don't feel quite right enough, and I bet you don't either. So we all came together. 10 years later now, it's the 10-year anniversary of Museum Detox. And as Colleen said, there's more than 600 people. And we started to feel safer. And actually, what we also started to do was, and I noticed in myself, I had no embarrassment about asking for help from strangers for anything for Museum Detox. I'm not a parent, but I've seen this in parents. They'll do shameless things for children with no sense of embarrassment whatsoever. I'm sometimes cringing and appalled at how much people can do, but they have this incredible bravery. And I suppose I got this feeling from wanting things for Museum Detox, wanting things for us and our solidarity, because I had this burning thing where I wanted to reshape the world, reshape society and my patch of it so that people, children like myself and my brother, could walk taller and feel as we should feel in the world. And this museum detox energy, this asking strangers for help, it just seemed to keep working. I'd ask the strangers for help and they would just keep giving it. Again, Colleen nominating me for this is another sort of example of a virtual stranger giving help for something that we believed in. So in Birmingham, fast forward, I met Zach Mensa through the Museum Detox Network. And again, I wanted a job. I wanted the job of Director of Birmingham Museums Trust. But I thought, bit of a stretch. And also, will it be joyful, as Colleen said? So he was a virtual stranger to me, but I'd met him through the Museum Detox Network, and I asked him for help. Do you want to do this job together with me? And he said yes, and we've been doing it together for 3 years. I am the first Asian museum director of Birmingham Museums Trust, and indeed of any major museum in the UK. And Zach is only the second black director. So together we are a very unusual pairing. And we're trying to make an anti-racist museum in Birmingham. So I think that what I've noticed is that now Birmingham is bankrupt, unfortunately. You might have read that in the news. And again, you know, the bullies are circling. And we have to protect the museum and protect our vision for an anti-racist museum. And in order to do that, we must ask strangers for help. And we must find the bravery to ask strangers for help. And we are doing that all the time because that's what we believe in and that's what we're trying to achieve in the museum. And although there are lots of economic pressures on us as cultural leaders, on all people working in the public sector at the moment, we must find solidarity, and we must find solidarity with those who believe what we also believe in, because we achieve much more together, as you all have done coming here together in your studies, in your scholarship. There will be so many people, no doubt, who have circled you and supported you and given you solidarity to get where you are today. And so this is really just a little tale about that and the power of solidarity and what we're trying to do in Birmingham, and in a sense that all originated from my brother, who was the original member of Museum Detox.
Vice-Chancellor and Provost, I have the honour to present, for the degree of Master of Arts in Literature in the Creative and Cultural Industries, Sophie Apps. For the degree of Master of Arts in Literature of the Romantic Period, 1775 to 1832, Molly Regan. For the degree of Master of Arts in Medieval Literatures and Languages, Verity Best. Rowan Carlacci. Mirto Carlambus. Lowry Clark. Lillian Hammond. Kyla Hill. Marta Perez Medina. Victoria Quint. Megan Taylor. For the degree of Master of Arts in Modern and Contemporary Literature and Culture, Beatrice Bowers. Zara Christian Norris. Zara Echeverry Mayer. Robert Gibbons. Leah Golder. Lena Mazel. Ellis Vickers. Margarita Volpato. Tabitha Weir. For the degree of Master of Arts in Poetry and Poetics, Alex Priestley. Emily Thorrington. Vijeta Venkataraman. For the degree of Master of Arts in Renaissance Literature, 1500 to 1700, Ruth Kame. Caitlin Mullen. Louisa Norton. Aidan Quigley. For the degree of Master of Arts in Victorian Literature and Culture, Elizabeth Jennings. Manouk Zandvliet. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in English, Eleanor Bailey. Caitlin Barry. Aileen Boz. Anika Chowdhury. Naya Harrop. Lauren Heaton. Caris Horsley. Lucy Kavanagh. Ellie McWilliam. Elliot Mears. Elizabeth Nuttall. David Popalka. Emma Register. Luca Taylor. Eve Thorns. Isabel Webb-Pratt. Amy Williams. Alexander Wortley. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in English and Philosophy, Thomas Luxon. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in English and Linguistics, Tamara Ulyart.
It's a huge pleasure to introduce Zara Aga, our student orator, who will speak on behalf of the class of 2024. Our student orators have been invited to speak in recognition of their hard work on behalf of the student community and commitment to their studies. Our speakers have pursued the most enriching experience they could during their time at York, as well as giving back to their community. On behalf of the class of 2024, I give you Zara Aga.
Hello, fellow graduands, honourable guests, and family and friends. It is a pleasure to welcome you all to this graduation ceremony. Since graduating, I've spent some time working in the marketing department here at York. It's no wonder they chose me to deliver this speech. I remember a tagline from a campaign used to describe York's student body: independent minds, collective spirit. This has stuck with me, particularly when I think of recent political events which threaten to divide us as a society. This tagline also makes me think of all of you. We are all indeed independent minds. Without sounding like the most cliché English student ever, we all have our own stories, which have led us to being here today. In reflecting on our experiences, we must also acknowledge the challenges that we faced. My own journey to York began when my sister Hannah passed away just before I left for university. One of the most basic questions asked during Freshers' Week became my nightmare. Do you have any siblings? In 2018, I was also one of the few people of colour in my flat. Like other new students, I anxiously wondered how I would find common ground amongst all these strangers. I soon realised that we are all as complex as one another. We all have our own hopes, fears, and dreams. It was easy enough to find like-minded students through various societies. However, York goes one step further in fostering a positive collective spirit through its unique collegiate structure. Through my college, I found friends from all different walks of life. Though we had our differences, we all learned to live together, to inspire each other, and above all, to understand one another. Everywhere you look, you'll find academically gifted students at York who possess a unique sense of togetherness. College staff at York also inspired me to take on various leadership roles, such as Black, Asian, and minority ethnic representative and head of wellbeing of Derwent College, as well as college life advisor of Langworth College. A special thanks to Amy Perch for her continued support during my studies. Through these community-spirited roles, I really understood the power of diverse voices coming together on events big and small, be that fighting for important causes or our annual sporting event, Roses. There are two stories in particular that I'd like to celebrate today. My ummi, my mum, she's made such a powerful impression on a country that's not even her birthplace. She's been recognised as one of the best GPs in the whole of the Northwest, and is a shining example of the fact that women, in particular Pakistani women, can indeed break the glass ceiling. My Abu, my dad, he worked 3 jobs and yet still found the time to help me and my sister with our homework, to play games with us, teach us DIY, and above all, give us all the opportunities he never had as he was growing up. My time at York has proved that our differences should serve as a catalyst for greater empathy and collective action. So I now pass the baton on to all of you. We must not let hate or prejudice divide us, and we need to continue to uplift and celebrate one another. We must continue to be ambassadors for change, advocates for inclusivity, and torchbearers for those whose stories are yet to be heard. I believe that that's possible at York, where independent minds form a collective spirit. Thank you so much all for being here today, and I wish you every success in the future. We did it!
Thank you, Sarah. The founders of the University of York 60 years ago set the university up so that people would learn from each other. It was very much in their vision, and you can see it in the architecture of the campus, for example. I think York is a much more diverse and interesting place today than it was then, as I think you alluded to. I think the founders would have been overjoyed to hear you referring to inspiring each other as one of your memories of York. So thank you very much. Now, if I was able to do it, I would love to close the ceremony in a Johnny Morris voice, but perhaps, fortunately, I'm not able to do it. So I declare this congregation closed. Please rise for the recession.